back to Pop Therapy. I am so thrilled, as you will have heard, my beautiful friend, the Bravo Investigator, Dana Regan, is here with me. Dana, hi.
Hi. I'm so excited to see you. It's been
Me too.
how long has it been?
Well, it's been.
I miss
the
you
last
because we met at
time.
BravoCon finally in person, and now it's been
Yes.
a while. And I just wish you could come over, but it's not that
I
easy.
know. It's too far away, too many oceans between us, but we are united in all of the things that we love and love to hate. And just touching on BravoCon briefly, because I don't think we've done an official little debrief on that.
No.
God, that was fun. I just wish we could do that like every weekend. I mean, it was
Okay, no.
exhausting.
Only because I feel like for everyone when we came home, we were pooped.
Totally.
I wasn't even able to talk to anyone for like a week. I'm like exhausted.
So true. And people would be like, what was it like? How did you feel? What was your best bit? And I'm like, I honestly can't even tell you. I'm still processing the whole thing. And I think still to this day, there is so much that I haven't fully processed about the intensity and magnitude of those 3 days.
I know.
Do you have a highlight? Is that a mean question to ask?
A mean question?
Well,
a highlight? No, of course not. I guess my highlight was meeting all of my friends in person. Like that was the best part. It wasn't even the Bravo Labs. It was just seeing all of the content creators that I've been talking to for years that I consider friends. And then we just got to see each other. And I made a concerted effort to make sure I knew everybody's name as well. Not like Worm with a mustache, hey cat, things like that. I tried to make a concerted effort. Not everyone did the same for me. It was great to just really connect with people and hug our real people. And there's something to be said about having a mutual thing that brings us all together, right? Because I brought you along with me to a couple of meals with people you didn't know. Totally. And I feel like in the real world, that's kind of an anxious thing, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to go to dinner with someone I don't even know. How awkward would that be? But nobody felt that way. Everybody was so commingling because we just all had this thing in common. And I left you alone with a couple of my friends, and now you're best friends with them. And you guys aren't friends with me anymore, and that's fine. I'm okay.
So not true. And she's talking about the Above Deck girls, by the way, who I did just do we did a little joint episode together.
Yes.
I know Below Deck's not your thing at the moment, but maybe we'll reel you in, pun intended, for
LOL.
Below Deck Down Under. But you're right, it was like a big family reunion, it was like we all knew each other, but or it's like everyone was the cousin we'd heard about, or someone had married our brother and we were just meeting them for the first time. It was that kind of thing. But one of the things you did bring me along to was meeting Jesse Lally and his beautiful girlfriend Lacey, and that was so much fun. We hung out with them for almost an hour, drank some tequila, and
they gave us a ton of tea about the Valley season 3, which really we are keeping mum.
Mouth is zipped. People can trust
because
us
Yana told them we would, and unfortunately now we have to abide by that.
Yeah, that was my fault. Sorry. I was like, guys, whatever you talk about,
we don't have to say that.
And Dana's like, no, don't say that. Too late. But actually, I thought it was a really interesting interaction, because Jesse's one of those people that, a lot of people, have some things to say about, but I thought he was brilliant, really engaging, so lovely, so friendly.
He was sweet.
So normal.
And I know this sounds weird, but the fact that they treated us like real people and not like fans, I really appreciated that. We were having a genuine conversation, and I just feel like I have this connection to Lacey because she's experienced trauma in her life, and I'm just the kind of person that just feels drawn to trauma victims and wanting to help them and be around them, and she just has this most amazing, beautiful energy. It was just it was such a fun time. It really was.
Yeah, it was really, that was definitely a highlight. And that was the very end of BravoCon, and we were just
I was like, I have not met enough Bravo Labs. We have to go meet some more.
Yeah. It's like, should we leave this kind of boring Next Gen NYC panel and actually go and meet some people? Yes, let's go. And that was so much fun. And the whole thing was such a blur, but I still can feel the high of being there. And you're just in this kind of hyper state of, it's like hyper arousal. You're just constantly overstimulated and what's next? And who's over there? And oh my God. But one of the big pieces of news that has broken today, which was talked about a lot at BravoCon, is the official separation of Kyle and Amanda from Summer House. Now, you did a deep dive on them not too long ago, so I'm assuming you've got some insights that maybe some of us don't necessarily have. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I know this is crazy. Like, obviously, nobody's shocked. So it's crazy to say that I'm sad, but I am. And I am sad because it really is the end of a literal era. We've only known them together, right? Even in season 1, when he was calling Stassi Steve Jobs and maybe kissing a girl here or there, we saw Amanda from the beginning. And so to watch a relationship from beginning to end, it's hard as an audience not to feel, you know? I feel sad for them, and I feel, I hope that they're able to navigate this okay without like the audience tearing this apart and turning this into like a Craig and Paige thing. But when I did my deep dive on him, so it was just him, not Amanda, that my deep dive was on, there was something that I took note of that I thought was really interesting, and I'm curious your perspective as a therapist. So when they moved in together, when you move in with someone, that is when you really start to know who they truly are. And for me, I think it really is like a test of whether marriage can work if you are moving in together prior to marriage, obviously, right? Which they did. It's a test to be like, do we live well together? Do we work well together? And they didn't. He didn't like that she was leaving things everywhere. He didn't like that he felt like she was lazy. He felt like she didn't work enough. So all of the things that he talks about her now, he noticed immediately as they moved in together. And he talked to his mom about it. And he was like, Mom, I don't like all of these things about her, and I hope that they will change. She goes, you cannot hope that they will change. You need to love her for who she is and in the place that she's in right now. And he decided to marry her anyways. And I really think that they are such different people. And I think that if they had really picked up on that and realized how big of a deal that was at that stage, like that was their testing stage. I don't think they should have ever got married because they were very cognizant at that point in time that, oh, we don't live well together. I had a relationship like that where we were like so in love and blah, blah, blah. And the minute when we moved in together, I saw a completely different side of this person. We didn't live well together. It was awful. And I'm glad that we moved in together as quickly as we had because it ended, a lot quicker. But that is the point, right? Like that is the point of moving in with someone before. You can't just complain about the same things constantly. And you know what? He was in Toronto this past weekend. That's where I live. Hello. And I was like considering going to stalk him a little bit because he was like at a gym. And I'm like, I don't have the gym membership. Like, how am I going to get in there? But if he really wants to be a DJ and he wants to do that, fine. She wants to stay at home and not be with somebody who does that. She wants somebody who stays at home. Fine. So it is very clear of what you both want. And it's very clear that you're not willing to give it to each other. So it just sucks that it took them this long to get here.
Yeah, I think that was a very elegant way to wrap all of that up because I think people do get really intense about a lot of these things. And one of the things that I think I said this on a podcast recently, so apologies if you're hearing this again, but my surprise that they got engaged at the time stayed with me. We have never really seen them in a period of happiness in their relationship. No. Genuinely, they have not had they had issues from the beginning when she was like the booty call or whatever, and you could see she had feelings for him and he was still partying and hooking up and wanting to be out every night. And from the very beginning 10 years ago, she showed him who she was, and he showed her who she was. Oh, I'm getting he and she. You know what I mean? They each showed.
But you know what? The one difference I would say is that from the beginning, season 1, episode 1, he was 34 years old. Okay. And he says, you cannot be this like fuckboy forever. I'm going to be 40 in a few years and I want to settle down. Right. But he is the exact same person that he was 10 years ago, partying and doing all those same things. So I kind of feel for Amanda in a little sense because it's normal for a woman to think that eventually he'll settle down. Yeah. This man is 44 and running on fumes. Like, how is he still going? It's 2:30 in the morning, sir. Go to bed. How are you still awake?
It's the Bravo
Eventually,
effect.
when is he going to go to bed?
I know, like go to bed. I'm exhausted thinking about this tour that he's doing all over the world. Like I'm
I don't think it's all over the
43.
world.
Oh, well, it's all over America and a little bit of Canada,
Yeah.
you know, but like I don't have that energy and that steam to, in fact, I don't have the desire to be out till 4 o'clock in the morning anymore. Like, I
But I
just
don't think
don't.
most men in their mid 40s does. I think she got really unlucky.
Yeah.
Most DJs
Yeah.
are not that old. Am I being rude? Like, I'm not quite sure. I
Yeah.
think it's a
Well,
little.
you're certainly not at the beginning of your career in your mid
Yeah.
40s usually, you know, and that's when
Like, we do
you
have
do have
DJ
to.
Dorinda Medley and DJ Meredith Marks, but that's more of like a gimmicky thing. They're not like
It
making it
is.
a career.
It is, exactly. And they can show up and wave their hands around and say, clip, and leave, you know. But like, this is a totally different thing. And it has felt like it has been difficult and frustrating and painful from the beginning. I don't remember one season of Summer House where they weren't fighting, where Amanda wasn't staying home and either anxiety calling him all night, wondering where he is, or even worse, getting to the point that she seemed to where she didn't even really give a shit where he was. You know, she was like, I'm going to bed. You know, it was only a couple of years ago she was fretting and pacing and calling him repeatedly, where are you? Because let's not forget, just before their engagement, there was an entire cheating scandal and he blacked out and couldn't remember hooking up with someone. You know, the rumors and the stories about him and the nightlife issue have been going the entire length of the relationship. So, you know, is it sad? Of course it is. You know, it would have been lovely for Amanda to have gotten that fairy tale that she was hoping for. And I do feel like he loved her. Like you could see how much he loved her, but they were just never on the same path at the same time. And
They're not compatible. Like, you know, like lifestyle compatible.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is fine, but sometimes it's just not.
Exactly. And I do wonder about this Bravo effect. You know, we see it with
Oh my
all
gosh.
of the men. You know, we look at the entire cast of Southern Charm now, like all the men are single now, and you just like, you know, at what point, like Shep's 46 and he's living the
But that's
same
what these
life.
shows are about. They start season 1, episode 1, talking about Peter Pans, right?
Yes.
So they are doing their job. But I do wonder what this means, right? Like, we have Summer House starting February 3rd. So it's going to be another one of those seasons. Well, for us, as like people who love the psychology of it all, we get to like, you know, be able to watch and look for the signs and try to like deep dive it and figure out like, you know, when this, like it sort of was with Paige and Craig last year.
Yes.
But then there's the show In the City, right? Which is supposed to be the spin-off show that's in the city with Lindsay and everything. And I think they've already filmed that. So it's going to be weird that we have 2 whole things where we're watching them be together where they're no longer together, which felt weird last year for Paige and Craig as well. And then what was the other problem? Oh, well, then what do we do with In the City season 2?
Yes.
And what do we do with Summer House? Because I think Amanda will bow out, like no problem.
Yeah.
But does Kyle need to be there for a season 11 as well, right? Like, do they both bow out? Because I'm sure they were making their decisions anyways, or I'm sure maybe this was the transition. Maybe In the City was the transition of them out of it. So then I wonder if maybe she stays on In the City season 2 and he goes to the Hamptons forevermore.
My guess. Yeah, that would be my guess. I don't think there's any world at all where Kyle Cook gives up Summer House. I feel like he feels like he is the king of the frat house and nobody carries on the party without him.
But
you know?
Dude, when you're 50, I mean, I would watch a show called Nursing House.
Yeah. Totally. But I could see it, you know, and he's like king of the boys, king of the kids, hosts the wildest parties, hosts all the after parties, even when it's just him alone with his DJ set, as it's been so many years in a row. I just don't see him stepping away from that. That is his whole thing. And I can see him working a deal into it where they're filming him hosting, you know, DJing summer parties and, you know, I just don't see that going away. That's like his dream come true.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I think Amanda could absolutely transition into just the city.
But I could also see her doing none of this. She never wanted to be on TV. This was not like a thing in her life. So I could see her actually just leaving television and
just being an influencer.
Doing maybe fashion or something. I mean, she has a degree in graphic design. She could go back to that. I'm not saying that she has to, but like,
she won't.
I don't think TV was necessarily something that she was super passionate about anyway.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because she had no problem just being in bed. She wasn't ever
Right.
trying to make the show, you know? And I think that's one of the things that made Summer House so watchable. It's like the best of the Big Brother kind of vibes where the cameras are just on 24/7. They're in the corners of the rooms and they almost forgot the cameras at times because they were always so drunk and it was the middle of the night. And, but we saw so many breakdowns from Amanda. And I really liked, was it last season or the season before, where she was talking about Kyle somehow was starting to talk about having kids. And she was like, you know what? I finally got my meds right. And I don't want to come off them anytime soon. And I just want to enjoy feeling stable and happy for the first time. And I loved that she spoke about that because
Yeah.
that
and you could see a change in her personality in that last summer when she was finally like on her right mix of meds, right? Because she just seemed a lot more independent, which is great and happy.
Yeah.
A light in her eyes,
Light, yes. And, I love that she talks about that so openly because depression and anxiety are just like par for the course. Every second person suffers in some way from some condition in that sort of bracket. So I felt like it was really nice that she was just talking about it as if it was anything else. And, I'm not going to jeopardize my mental health and my body because you have decided suddenly you're thinking about kids. I want to feel good for as long as possible. So I thought that was fantastic. And it looks like Sierra's talking a bit more openly as well about being on medication. She was talking about that.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was at BravoCon or, did we see – I saw something somewhere where she was like thanking, whatever medication she was on.
Okay.
It was an antidepressant to explain
I'll thank mine.
why
Thank you, antidepressants.
Yes, totally. Like, thank God for antidepressants. Thank God for anti-anxiety medication.
But it's such a bitch to try to find that right one for you. And that road can sometimes be like really treacherous trying to get there.
Yeah, and that's why these conversations are so important, and we need to see people who look like they've got it all together, compared to us. They're living, a successful life. They're on TV. They've got huge followings. They're making lots of money doing what looks like really fun things, and they're also going through the same struggles that so many of us are. And so I love that conversation opening up. But was it actually maybe the Summer House preview that we saw at BravoCon? I'm not sure, where Sierra was like saying something like she's so much happier and lighter and it was because of her medication.
Maybe I missed it.
I don't know what I see these days and where it comes from, but I'm sure she's talked about it somewhere. So, okay, so we've got that February 3rd. Do we have an air date for In the City yet?
No, but I would assume they filmed it last September. You know what? I could see it following right after because they finished filming Summer House September 1st. And then if they had started filming this one September 10th and we're getting this one February 3rd, then it would only make sense chronologically for it to follow, especially if they end up doing a crossover to make it like blend from one to the other. Like they've done with Beverly Hills into Vanderpump Rules, from Vanderpump Rules into Summer House, things like that.
Yes, true. So do you think then we are going to have cameras back up with the announcement of the separation? Or do you feel like it's going to be covered?
Bravo loves cameras back up.
Yes.
They love that extra little moment. It's funny because it looks like we got one, right? Because in the trailer, it sort of looked like a pickup moment where Amanda's talking about how Kyle was staying at a fan's house till 6:30 in the morning. So it would be weird to do a second pickup if that was a pickup, but yeah, we need to, right? And even the Paige one was stupid because she was so over it by that point. She's like, oh, I'm okay.
Yeah, totally.
It's been like 2 months, right?
That just, gave us an extra 30 seconds of television and kept us watching to the last minute,
Actually, it just would feel stupid in this sense because it was so obvious. It came around so slowly as well. It wasn't like this sudden thing with like with Lindsay and Carl where it was like, oh my God, it happened all of a sudden. So it would just feel kind of dumb because what would the pickups be? They look at their phones. Oh, I'm so shocked. Yeah. What do you think, West? Right? Like, the most shocking news. Right?
Totally. And probably you know, it didn't happen this week, you know. I think probably
Yeah, it's
everyone
very
has
obvious. Yeah.
known. Yeah. You know, there was a lot of talk at BravoCon that they potentially were already separated then.
Right.
So I mean, that's months ago at this
And then
point.
they made those stupid little jokes about like, my dad was over actually, and I'm like, Amanda's saying something. I need to record this. Hang on, Dad. And then she's like, I have to tell you guys, about the rumors. They're true. This is the house that I'm living in. It's all I can afford. And it's this little dollhouse that
Yeah.
was like Gemma's dollhouse or like a doghouse or something. Like, sorry, Dad. Like, it was stupid. Never
Yeah.
mind. It was a joke. But like, so, and then on Christmas, which is when sorry, not Christmas, December, I think December, I forget the exact date. A couple days after Christmas, I released this episode with Kyle Cook. And it was the day that she had posted, because he was posting a bunch of like Christmas and people were like, where's Amanda? Where's Amanda? And then she posted in the comments, where's Amanda?
Yes.
So like, that's how recently, like she was still kind of leaning into it.
Yeah.
I wonder why they did that.
It did feel like, she was playing along at that point.
But for why? Like, if you guys are going to announce this in a couple of weeks, like it just feels a little, I don't know.
Maybe something has happened now to trigger the announcement. Maybe they were going to hold off, but now maybe Kyle's hooked up.
I'm very
with someone
curious
on
about
tour and
about the timing, right? Because we've got February 3rd, them coming back, but like, why now? Why today? I don't know.
Maybe she's like, I'm not going to deal with a whole nother round of cheating vibes and photos. And he's like, babe, there was a girl last night and someone might have taken pictures. And so they're like, all right, let's put it to bed. Who knows? I guess time will tell. In other separation news, though, and this is one that I know you're not a big follower of the family, but Brooklyn Beckham, the oldest child of Victoria and David Beckham, has come out with an essay I can guarantee was not written by him. However, in it, he has announced that he's basically estranged from his parents and gave a whole bunch of reasons why. And they're pretty damning. It's things like,
You think they're damning?
Well,
I only read a few of them, but some of them have to seem pretty trivial.
Some of them, feel
Explain
petty.
it to me. Okay.
And
you give me all the context. Okay.
So some of the things that he said, maybe I'll go to his actual post because, my memory is not that reliable.
That's why I did one of those things where I glazed over it because it was just like a lot and I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a lot. But also, he's not really known for his intellect, sorry to be a bit mean.
No, I need the context. Tell me.
So it feels like, it has been, there's a lot of language used in here that I think would even be confusing to him. But he says, I've been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that have been printed. I do not want to reconcile with my family. Like, that's a big
Wait, can I stop you
statement.
right there because I have a question, and because this is so long, I'm gonna have more questions. Here's my first question: when was this in the media? Was this in the media?
It's been in the media a lot, and so
it has.
every single post, as in, if you're into the Beckhams, you would have seen it. If it's not in your algorithm,
so
it's not
his
like
parents were putting stuff out in the media, talking shit about him and his wife.
Well, no, they've never technically done that, but I guess what he's saying is potentially their team has put stuff out, so things have been appearing in outlets talking about
what kind of stuff, like
Brooklyn,
that they're a bad couple,
not attending big events like David's 50th. David got a knighthood or was made Sir David Beckham by the royal family. As a fellow Commonwealth person, you understand what that is. But for maybe any US listeners, that's kind of a big deal to be given a knighthood by King Charles. It's kind of like the highest honor you can be given in the United Kingdom. So he wasn't there, and they do always present this big family front. So anytime there's any kind of celebration, all the siblings are lined up alongside the parents and they're all looking very proud. And Brooklyn has been noticeably missing for years. So he married Nicola Peltz, who is the daughter of a billionaire. And from the time of the wedding, there was lots and lots of stuff coming out, but it's the typical kind of nasty stuff that we see, pitting daughter-in-laws against mother-in-laws. And, I don't think people were taking too much of that into account. However, there were other things swirling which have resurfaced, and this is a sort of Real Housewives link, that when
There
she
always
was
is.
there always is. It always comes back to Bravo. But when Nicola was in a relationship in the past with Anwar Hadid, who is the son of Yolanda Hadid, formerly of Beverly Hills, he also became estranged from his family in the time that they were together in the relationship. And then they broke up.
So it's a pattern.
So I think that's why people were a little bit like, oh, it's all her, because he comes from this very close family. They do everything together. They vacation together. They're like always on yachts together, and they're in different parts of the world together all the time. And suddenly he's vanished, and he's not at any of these really important events. So no one was saying anything, but it was being noticed and it was being talked about.
Okay.
And then
thank you for that context. That is very important.
No problem. And then his youngest brother recently, so I think it was Cruz, put something out saying, because somebody noticed that Brooklyn and the family were not following each other. And the youngest brother, Cruz, made a couple of stories and said, Brooklyn, my parents would never unfollow or block my brother. He has unfollowed and blocked all of us. It was not my parents. So then there was some silence, and now he has put this lengthy statement out. So he goes on to say, I do not want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life. For my entire life.
One other question. Is that what's being put out in the media, that Nicola is controlling him? Is that the narrative?
That's the narrative, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. The performative social media posts, family events, and inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of the life I was born into. Recently, I have seen with my own eyes the lengths that they'll go to place countless lies in the media, mostly at the expense of innocent people, to preserve their own facade. But I believe the truth always comes out. My parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding, and it hasn't stopped. My mum cancelled making Nicola's dress in the 11th hour, despite how excited she was to wear her design, forcing her to urgently find a new dress. Weeks before our big day, my parents repeatedly pressured and attempted to bribe me into signing away the rights to my name, which would have affected me, my wife, and our future children. They were adamant on me signing.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Does it mean?
Somebody told me that he has her last name.
He's Beckham.
Oh, is that what this is regarding?
Well, I'm not sure.
Sign away your rights?
Sign away the rights to my name. Does it mean that they wanted to trademark the name Brooklyn Beckham? Maybe that's what it was. And then anything that is made under the identity as Brooklyn Beckham, they get a piece of, or I'm not sure. It sounds like it's something like that.
Okay.
They were adamant on me signing before my wedding date because then the terms of the deal would be initiated. So I don't know what that means. My holdout affected the payday, and they have never treated me the same since.
So it seems to be there's some business interaction that we're not aware of, which, dude, you can't really, you need to give all the context. I don't know what you're talking about.
And also, it's his dad and his mum who are famous for the Beckham name. He is the little Nepo baby.
Yeah,
and
I didn't even know they had kids old enough to be married. So, that's how
he did get married quite young. I think he's, in his 20s.
Okay.
So it is a bit strange because also I don't think that they need money from Brooklyn. I think they make plenty of money on their own. So there must be some loop, something we just don't understand there. During the wedding planning, my mum went so far as to call me quote unquote evil because Nicola and I chose to include my nanny Sandra, that's his grandmother, and Nicola's nauni at our table because they both didn't have husbands. Both of our parents had their own tables equally adjacent to ours. The night before our wedding, members of my family told me that Nicola was not blood and not family. Since the moment I started standing up for myself with my family, I've received endless attacks from my parents, both privately and publicly. I've never seen anything except, whether it's fake or not, this constant feeling that the family is everything and they love each other no matter what. They have not publicly said anything bad about their child, but maybe they do it through other channels. I don't know. That were even sent to the press on their orders. So there you go. Even my brothers were sent to attack me on social media before they ultimately blocked me out of nowhere last summer. My mum hijacked my first dance with my wife, which had been planned weeks in advance, to a romantic love song in front of our 500.
That's trivial. I'm sorry.
It is. That's ridiculous.
Sorry. Like some of this is a little like it's all about your wedding. It just feels a little. Yeah.
That sounds like
hijacked.
Yeah. And if that sounds like maybe that's something his wife is really upset about and he's saying it on behalf of her.
Yeah.
In front of our 500 wedding guests, Mark Anthony called me to the stage where in the schedule was planned to be my romantic dance with my wife, but instead my mum was waiting to dance with me instead. Boo-hoo. My mum's dead, so, I'll take a dance with my mum any day.
Yeah.
I'm joking, guys. Sorry, I make jokes about that.
Ryan did that to me too. Something about my mom. He goes, "My mom's dead." I'm like, Ryan.
I know. Sorry, everyone. Look, you have to be able to laugh about these things. So then she danced with me very inappropriately in front of everyone. I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my entire life. We wanted to renew our vows so we could create new memories of our wedding day that bring us joy and happiness, not anxiety and embarrassment. My wife has been consistently disrespected by my family, no matter how hard we've tried to come together as one. My mum has repeatedly invited women from my past into our lives in ways that were clearly intended to make us both uncomfortable. Despite this, we still travelled to London for my dad's birthday and were rejected for a week as we waited in our hotel room trying to plan quality time with him. He refused all of our attempts unless it was at his big birthday party with 100 guests and cameras at every corner. When he finally agreed to see me, it was under the condition that Nicola wasn't invited. It was a slap in the face. Later, when my family travelled to LA, they refused to see me at all. My family values public promotion and endorsements above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family, quote-unquote, love is decided by how much you post on social media or how quickly you drop everything to show up and pose for a family photo op, even if it's at the expense of our professional obligations. I don't know what professional obligations he has. He just makes really bad-looking food on Instagram. That's it. Yeah. Okay. So I'm pretty sure they could have waited. But anyway, we've gone out of our way for years to show up and support at every fashion show, every party, and every press activity to show our perfect family, quote unquote. But the one time my wife asked for my mum's support to save displaced dogs during the LA fires, my mum refused. The narrative that my wife controls me is completely backwards. I've been controlled by my parents for most of my life. I grew up with overwhelming anxiety. For the first time in my life since stepping away from my family, that anxiety has disappeared. I wake up every morning grateful for the life I chose and have found peace and relief. My wife and I do not want a life shaped by image, press, or manipulation. All we want is peace, privacy, and happiness for us and our future family. So that's pretty big in the sense that he's saying he's had a lifetime of anxiety because of his family and his parents, and that he has never felt better since stepping away. These are big statements to make, and I don't begrudge him. If that's truly his experience, more power to him for taking control of that piece and getting his mental health in shape away from them.
Yeah.
But it's pretty bold to put it all out there, knowing how much Brand Beckham seems to be their MO. So there's so much to say, but I know you've talked briefly before about, stepping away from relationships in your life. And what are your thoughts on him doing this and in such a public way?
I mean, first of all, I really think, and I've been saying this a lot lately, doing something like that in a public way is so damaging because it's, say it, forget it, write
Yeah.
it, regret it, right? Because it's
Remember
family and
memory,
it's
go
just so
best.
dangerous if you're ever going to talk again to do something like that. But I think obviously he's doing it because he's making the point of like, oh, all you care about is image. Well, then I'm going to put out this image. Now,
Mm,
I don't know if maybe you have more context because you're just like more familiar with the family, but I feel like I'm just missing so much because, you know, what are the other siblings like? Is there an issue? I don't know how old the other kids are, but like, are any of them in relationships? And are there any issues with those kids being in relationships? Because if there isn't, maybe it is a you problem because this has now happened. I don't know. Like this has now happened in two relationships allegedly where you've had like issues with your parents. That sounds like kind of like monster-in-law behavior where you have the
mm,
mother who doesn't like that you're in a relationship. So that very well could be it. Like he's kind of saying, right? We only care about image. And then there also seems to be like a mommy, like a little Bates Motel thing happening. Is that it seems to be what he's sort of saying, right? Like
kind
she's
of, yeah.
rubbing up against me at my wedding.
Yeah.
So there could
Yeah.
be, but I also find it very interesting that the rest of the family doesn't feel that way and he's the only one that does. That could be manipulation, like he's saying, or he's in the wrong. Like I'm just so curious to hear the other side. And maybe as
Yeah.
somebody with like the investigative mindset, I always think it's important to hear both sides and not just listen to one side and be like, oh my God, right? Because there could be a whole other story and a lot of other
Yeah.
context that could be relevant. And at the end of the day, there's his side, her side, and the truth. But if he truly feels that this is what's best for him, I mean, here's where I feel different because I'm estranged from my mom, but not my entire family. And I feel like that could be super isolating if the only person he has in his life is his wife. Sorry, not the only person that he has in his life, but the only family he has in his life
Yeah.
is his wife, right? I am very close with my sister. And ever since my parents got divorced, I'm very close with my dad. And it's been such a blessing and such an important part of my life. Every time I thought about not having my mom in my life when my parents were still married, I was kind of scared because then I'm like, I'm not going to have any family. I kind of won't have anyone.
Mm,
And I worry for him a little in that sense. And I wonder, we weren't there. We weren't there for his whole life, right?
yeah.
It's hard for us to really gauge, but I hope he's making the right choice. But at the end of the day, I think that even if he isn't making the right choice, I think family will always take you back.
Yeah. And I think what's really interesting is, and having worked as a therapist with families and young people for as long as I have, it's always so interesting to me to see how different siblings' experiences can be in the exact same family with the exact same parents.
It's so funny
You
you say that
know,
because my sister has a relationship with my mom and they have a fine
there you
relationship.
go.
So that's funny that you say that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Yeah. And each of us has our own perspective and our own relationship. And I think birth order plays a part in that. And, you know, the parent you get as the fourth child, as opposed to maybe the first child, which is the story in Brooklyn's case, he's the eldest child. And what it looks like is the others have a close relationship. I mean, they're still doing the vacays all together. The two other brothers have girlfriends. Now,
So
one of
then that's
them,
the part that's weird. Don't you think
yeah,
that's
I mean,
weird?
one of
Like
them,
if
it's
there's
a,
no issue there, but we don't know if there's no issue there. But if there is
but
no
there,
issue
yeah,
there,
there
then
should be an issue because the youngest brother, I don't know, he's like 20 or something. And I might be getting the details slightly wrong, but his girlfriend is like 30 something. I think
mm,
they got together when he was, like 18 or 19 and she was in her 30s. And he looks very young. Like it feels
no.
so uncomfortable. And I think there was some sort of rumor that she at one point had hooked up with Brooklyn. And then it sort of came out like, oh no, it was the other brother, Cruz, that had some sort of connection with
Ew,
this
you
girl.
guys.
It's so ill. And if he was not a Beckham, would this woman be interested in this child? I'm not sure. I can understand why maybe a woman in her 50s might be interested in a man who's 30 because he's already an adult and he's had, a whole life by then, but an 18, 19, 20 year
No.
old when you're in your 30s feels quite gross to me. That's a child
And it's also
whose
kind of,
brain hasn't even finished developing and won't for another 5 years.
but
Like,
now these
it's,
boys are having mommy issues with this older woman, right? Like there's another problem here, right? Like that's a
yes,
weird, because if she did hook up with Brooklyn, then he has like some weird mommy issues in addition to that, right? Like not only
yeah,
do you feel like your mom rubs up against you weird and is sort of obsessed with you in a weird way, but now you're dating like women that, are maybe 6 years
yeah.
away from possibly being your mom,
Yes, yes. So there's so many layers to it, but I do think it is really interesting to think about. I saw a lot of the comments saying things like, "Oh my God, it's screaming air and the spare." You know,
What does that mean? I've
the
never heard that
Prince
saying.
Harry story. His book is called Spare,
Okay.
and do you know
Air and
Dana?
space.
Have
You're,
you
you're,
been
you're,
following
you're
Harry
talking
and
about things I
Meghan?
don't understand whatsoever.
Okay, so Prince Harry wrote a book called Spare because in
Okay.
royal families, it's always kind of like the known thing that there's an heir and a spare. And, the
Okay.
heir is the firstborn son who goes on to inherit everything and become the king. And the spare is just there in
The other
case
guy.
something happens
Got
to
it.
him. And
Got it.
he gets bumped further and further down the list, as Harry has for every child that the heir has. So Harry is like way down the line, will never be king.
Right.
And that's kind of his,
Because William has so many kids.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
So it's William next, then his three children, and then maybe Harry.
Right.
But he wrote this very, in my mind, I haven't read it to be fair, but he wrote a book exposing all of his family's dirty laundry and his relationship with his older brother, who will one day soon be
Oh, yeah, I did
king.
hear about that.
Yeah, and the big fallout with Meghan, his wife, and Catherine, otherwise
Right.
known
The
as Kate
race stuff
Middleton,
and how they were worried
and
about what the baby would look like. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, yep,
Okay.
and that and really exposed William and Kate in a pretty big way. Whatever your thoughts are on that, that's fine. But people are sort of
Yes. Yes.
talking.
The flower girl dress. Yes. Okay. I'm remembering this now.
Yes. And Kate was she'd just given birth and, whatever. But there were lots and lots of details in there that were pretty exposing. I think, and he went on this big publicity tour and all of the things, and he's out of the family. So, but meanwhile, cashing in on his remaining title and like going and, giving speeches on things that he's not qualified to do. Anyway, so there's a little bit of that in the comments online, that it's like, oh, it's giving spare because, he's not happy as a Nepo baby in some way, that he's not being handed something or whatever it is. So, and that he's airing the family. The Beckhams in the UK are kind of like the pop culture royal family. So it's kind
Right.
of similar in that sense, that he's exposing things that have
No,
never
these
been
stories are
publicly
very
shared
similar now that
before.
you are
Yeah.
likening it to it. It's spot on.
Yeah. So I think it's really interesting. And I always find these family dramas interesting because of the things we were talking about. Like, you just never really know what the dynamic truly is. What were the expectations on him as a Nepo baby? Like, it's a huge name and brand, both of them
Yeah.
individually and as a couple. And it's become more and more of a commodity in recent years, where they've each had documentaries on Netflix. There was one on Victoria and her whole kind of like rise to fashion. And David did a fantastic, I don't know if you've watched that or not, Dana, but
No, I
it's
haven't.
well worth the watch. You don't have to know anything about soccer or even be interested in it. It's a beautiful documentary. And actually, you see quite a tortured person. He needs a lot of
Mhm.
therapy, and a lot of that is quite raw. And he talks through some of the worst and biggest moments of his life that were all played out very publicly. So it's really surprising to see Brooklyn shitting on them in such a big way. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I think it'll be really interesting for the next few days and weeks to see whether there's a response from a sibling, because we've already seen Cruz, the youngest brother, put some stuff out about him saying my parents would never block him, and it's just happened to all of us and we don't know why. So, like, where's the truth in all of it?
Right.
And what are the perspectives of all of these siblings? And unfortunately, I think his wife is going to get a lot of heat for this because a woman always does. But
Yep.
also, she's got the history of another relationship where this happened. So, are we going to get some spotlight on the Hadids again and on Yolanda? And are people going to be
Love
asking
that.
them questions about this? The
It's funny
ripple
that you
effect could be
mentioned that
big.
only because we're in such a rut with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We have the Traitors on, so people are calling for Rinna to come back to Beverly Hills to save it. You just mentioned Yolanda. I mean, both of them together and fucking, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Munchausen's? Like, come on.
Yes.
Let's bring that back to the mix. Let's bring Yolanda, Lisa, and Munchausen's back to the mix.
Do you know what
I'll
though?
be
I
happy.
have to draw the line at Lisa. Maybe she's good on the Traitors, but I feel like she was
She's
one of the
perfect for the
reasons.
Traitors. Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I feel like she was one of the reasons that Beverly Hills started to really
Yeah.
tank. It was so overproduced and so fake, where before we were really enjoying the real relationships and family connections. And she really got in between Kyle and Kim and said some really unforgivable things about Kim's illness. And
I'm watching the Denise season now where she's like, ooh, I'm so angry, Denise.
Oh, can you imagine like the rage in me that would come up if somebody sat opposite me and said that?
Someone who used to be
my
your close friend.
Yeah, I would absolutely lose it. But this is the thing that frustrates me with so many of these shows, and maybe we've talked about this before, but the constant hypocrisy of the expectations upon some cast members. Like Kyle was so intense, and they were all so intense about Denise and Brandy and them needing to come clean. But Kyle has been given this pass, and everyone has danced around her relationship with Morgan for years now. And we're all just supposed to accept that's fine. And Kyle doesn't need to talk about that because the other person doesn't want to after becoming famous for being on the show.
Yeah, but I think that I'll give her a little bit of grace only to say that she wasn't in the situation then. And then when she was in the situation, she was like, oh shit, now I don't want to be honest. Now I get it. Now I get why people don't want to be super open.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's getting a pass. I mean, she's getting a pass from like production, I guess, or Andy, but like the audience is still pretty mad.
So you know what would win us over? If she said exactly what you just said. Do you know what? Reflecting back on that time with Denise, I feel terrible. And I understand now that I put her in the most terrible position, and I feel like a complete hypocrite because
I think a lot of people should say that to Denise. A lot of people owe Denise an apology. 100%. Knowing what we know now about Aaron, 100%. I think a lot of people owe Denise an apology.
100%. And so what's wrong with doing that? Why can't we get these apologies?
We're not going to get into that topic, are we?
No. So how are you feeling about Beverly Hills all in all?
Bored out of my living mind. Psychologically speaking, I think there's lots to touch on and talk about, and that's what I do on my podcast. I mean, watching Sutton sort of trying to become Sutton Brown and figure out a whole new person in herself, the fact that she was actually even thinking that she could ever get her ex back, that concept to me was wild. The annulment. And then the Jennifer Tilly of it all, recently bringing up in the last episode that just her frustration, she's just, everything is about Sutton and this is why she lost Garcelle. And I just think there's a lot there. I think that's really interesting. And I think the whole divorce is very interesting, right? She's giving us a lot. She's being super raw and open about it. And I think it's interesting to watch. Like, we're getting a lot there, but this is a group of people that I have no interest in watching together.
Yeah, I agree. I'm loving Rachel Zoe though.
Yeah.
I love her. I actually just want to watch her. I would love
her and her kids.
To have,
so cute. Love
so
them.
Cute. Let me just have a whole series back on Rachel Zoe. I do like how she's saying a lot of the things we're thinking, like the scene with Amanda, and she's like, oh my God, I can't. I just can't. But
she's fitting in very perfectly like that because this isn't new to her. She's been on Bravo before, so she's just like, fits it on like a glove,
Totally. So it is a shame. It's kind of going the way of OC, and that's a little bit sad. The Valley Persian Style. Are you watching?
Obsessed.
How good
Such
is it?
complex characters. So
Oh,
open, so raw, talking about not sleeping in the same bed,
yes.
dating other people, going through major surgery and like life-altering
Yes.
surgery. I mean, I just think these couples are so amazing. I don't know who convinced them to do this, but I am so thankful.
Oh, me
All of
too.
them.
And I love that it just feels so refreshing. You
Yes.
know, they're bringing so much to the table. I mean, the first episode, we were like in the laundry with everybody and in their business in a way
And I'm
that,
tearing up, right? I don't
yes.
know about you. I don't know if you felt this way. I don't know if you're watching new VPR, but I felt like it's the same sort of concept. We're getting a new show with
Yep.
some or common elements that we're used to. And I mean, I never watched Shaw, so like I knew who those people were a little bit, but not really. And for some reason, I can't get into Vanderpump Rules or invest in the characters in the same way that I can with the Valley Persian style. And I'm sitting there thinking, is it because I'm more in the same stage of life as like the Valley people? But I'm not really, right? Like I'm not married, I don't have
Mm,
kids, but we are the same age, and maybe that's it. And maybe I understand their life circumstances more. Well, you have new VPR where we're talking about penis pumps, and I just can't relate. I just can't relate.
yeah.
So
What? You
I
can't relate
just,
to penis pumps? That really surprises me, Dana.
I'm sorry. But to have Amir talk about like his wife dying of cancer and that,
Yes.
I mean, I teared up. And to be able to get something so raw and real in episode 2, I mean, like,
Yeah.
brava to these people.
100%. And I think, do you know what? I don't think it's to do with the stage of life because Southern Hospitality came on and
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is so good. I'm so invested in these people. Season 2 was like, whoa, this is amazing. This is so
Right.
good.
Same. I felt
I
the
am
same.
so far away from their lives. I'm not 21, 26 working in a bar. I
Right.
was, though, at one point. I was in my 20s working in a bar. And so I relate on some level, but it's about the authenticity and the real relationships and, people willing to just kind of put it all out there. A lot of rawness, which we also
Yes.
get from the Valley. VPR, like the first episode I thought was okay. Second episode, I'm like, oh yeah, like I could get into this. This is like, there are some maniacs on this show that are like throwing
Yeah.
it
I
all
loved
on at the
Natalie.
wall. Natalie, I like Venus. Um, that's kind of it. The rest all feel like reality TV 101, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't feel, it's not authentic in the
I
same way.
don't
They
care
know they're
though, because I
making the
feel like it was by
show.
episode 3 where they started doing character development. And
Yeah.
that's where I was just like, whoa, this is too much. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to know this deep about you yet. I just don't care. I don't care. And I was like, is it
Yeah.
me? But no, I think it's them.
Yeah, I think it is because, as you said, like,
Everybody feels this way.
well, also the fact that you're watching not Shah's Persian Style, The Valley, and
Terrible
you are
name, by the way.
connecting. It's the
Terrible.
worst. It should have been like Shah's The Valley or whatever it was. Like
I
I
hate
don't
to give
know.
someone else credit, but like this really sounds good. Somebody else, she's speaking with Emily Hanks. She was recording with her podcast partner, Kendrick Tucker. And I think it was actually a listener who had come up with it. But like the Valley Persian version, that's
Oh,
way
love
better.
that.
It
Love
flows
it.
better.
Persian version. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like there is such a richness and a depth, and the main character that we're not even talking about is their Persian culture.
Yeah.
And I, especially in this moment in time in the world when Iran is in the middle of a revolution and, it is a terrible time for everybody over there, there could not be a better time to be showing the richness and the beauty of the culture of Iran. And that is something that was always front and center with Shahs. And it has stayed as the centerpiece and the backdrop for this entire season again. And I just think that's really special. And we should be celebrating people's cultures and backgrounds and ethnicities. And they do it with such pride. And it's a combination of like Jewish families. Reza's family is half Jewish and half Muslim. There are,
Yeah.
Christian and Muslim backgrounds, but it's just showing like what a melting pot Iran is.
And the difficulty of
Has
that, because I
been.
am starting to watch Shaw's from season 1, so I just started,
Okay.
and I'm seeing like some of those dynamics with Reza and his dad, and how they hadn't spoken
Yes.
in a long time, and it was because when his mom converted, but that wasn't like good enough, and so his dad like cheated with like a real Muslim or something. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, it's just,
I
and
mean,
then the
maybe just
grandmother
an
didn't actually
excuse.
accept Reza because he
Yeah.
isn't Jewish. Like holy shit.
I know. It's
That's major stuff.
insane.
Oh, but what I
Yeah.
want to say about the culture is, yes, I completely agree with you, but it is one of the things that I really love the most about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City because
Mm.
yeah, you do learn so much from the show. And what I love
Yes.
about that show is how everyone has sort of a different um, background or religion, but it never comes in the way of their friendships or the show
Yes.
whatsoever, which is kind of wild because in the world it's constantly a problem,
Yes.
but not on the show. And
Yes.
so I love those cultural aspects. And I love that Reza also calls it out a little bit, where he'll be like, Persian people talk about money a lot. It's very normal. And I go, oh, okay. And I like that he does that because as a podcaster, I don't want to be going on and on about something that me and my whiteness thinks is appropriate or
Yeah.
thinks is inappropriate. And so I should talk about that for like 20 minutes on a podcast, only to find out that that's just like a Persian thing. So I like that he
Yeah.
explains which things are just Persian things and we just accept them. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
good. Now I know.
Yes. But I think you made such a beautiful point there that I just wanted to give a little bit more life because I think it is really important. The fact that none of these backgrounds or religions or beliefs get in the way or create conflict on any
Ever.
of these shows is so important and is something that we should all be learning from. Let the drama
Wait,
be
one lesson
about
from reality TV.
yeah, like let the drama be about who hooked up with who and who said what and who let somebody down. It should never be about, you know, our backgrounds. And I think that's a beautiful thing to take away from all of this. But I just love that that is such a big piece of this show of
Yes.
the Valley Persian Style. And I can't get enough. I want so many more episodes. I want it
I heard there's
twice
only
a week.
9. I am devastated. I
No.
know. I just found that out. I'm like, wait, so there's only 6 more?
Oh,
And they're probably not going to get a
no.
reunion because the other Valley didn't get a season 1 reunion. And with only 9 episodes, I doubt it. Not even a Clubhouse reunion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's just hope
They
that
got to
they
get
keep
them on Watch
cameras
What
up and
Happens Live, like, you know.
yeah. Or an after show. An after show would be so great.
I don't know if they need that yet. Have you noticed
Mm.
how boring some of them are? Like the Vanderpump
Some of
Rules
them
one that we had for
are.
season 10 was good. Maybe season 11. There hasn't really been another after show that has been like compelling, in my opinion, that has actually given us something.
Yeah.
Remember the Summer House one that existed for 2 episodes and then
Yes.
disappeared? Southern
Yes.
Charm, they are just talking about like ChatGPT and like it's just very
Yes.
boring. So I don't know
Yes.
that they need it necessarily, but maybe a season 2. I just feel like right now we're still in character development, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like we're there. Like we are right in there. We're in the rawness. We're in the realness. God only knows how much more there is to reveal about all of these people. Obviously so much, but it feels like, oh my God, we are in the weeds with them already. I'm invested in these relationships and these separate bedrooms, and are these marriages going to survive? And, you know, like
Well, one of them
it's
already
just,
hasn't, right? We already know that MJ and Tommy have gotten a divorce
well,
or are in the
yes.
process. Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy's
and so
a
that's
wild card.
another,
That's an interesting person.
Oh, so you have to wait till you watch him from.
I hear he's always been like that.
He has always.
And I would never say that someone should change, but like,
Yeah.
who would want to be with someone like that, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of being put down constantly. And, you know, I dated
Yeah.
someone like that too, who would always be like, it's a joke. But it's like, if every joke is like constantly putting you down and then your mom was also the same way your whole life, like,
Yeah.
that girl probably needs a lot of therapy. A lot of therapy.
A lot. And she's come a long way. She has changed
Has
a
she?
lot too.
Okay.
Yeah, huge difference from, I mean, she was such a mess before. And she seems like she's got it together now. And part of that process of like getting it together is moving on from Tommy. And, you know, we can call it banter, but it's not.
She's not doing it back. Banter implies 2 people that it's going back and forth.
Point.
You know, if we're gonna, I don't know if you heard about the Traitors thing with like the definition of the word commiserating, but it was like this whole funny thing. So I'm just, I think banter is going back and forth. I think that's the Merriam-Webster definition, and she just stares at him blankly every time because she doesn't know what to do with it. Because it's confusing. It's confusing because you know that the only response from the other person is it's a joke, and so they sort of put it on you because you can't take the joke. That's how my ex used to always put it on me. It's like, oh, well, look at you. You can't take a joke. You're crying again. And it's like, so it's my fault, right? Yeah. That's the only way around this. It's my fault.
Yeah. Well, that's gaslighting,
and you get to keep talking that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So I'm glad she's moving on. But, you know, these new characters and these new couples, I don't know where they land because it's...
Well, I guess we know they're also together because we haven't heard otherwise. So that's good, I guess.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe they're just better at keeping it together. Maybe the producers have said, don't say anything and let's like
That's
do
a good
a
point.
cameras back up situation. I don't know. They love a cameras
Yeah, I
up switch.
know.
Okay. So anything else? You're watching the Traitors. Now, everybody, if you are watching the Traitors, make sure you go and listen to Dana's episode with Ryan Bailey from So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. You guys did a deep dive on all the characters, right?
We did 2 episodes, so it was 4 hours total, and we did a deep dive on all of the characters just so that you have a background understanding. Because what I think is so interesting about the Traitors is it's made up of a mix of reality stars, athletes, Michael Rappaport, other randoms, and they just like enter into the castle and we just get started. There's no like, hi, I'm Colton from The Bachelor and I stalked my ex-girlfriend. How about you? There's none of that. And I feel like as a casual watcher of TV, you've probably only know maybe 1 or 2 of these characters. I mean, I'll fully admit I don't know any of the gamers. I didn't know Eric Nam, who's a singer in Korea. Like there's always going to be people that you're not familiar with. So what we try to do is give you like a background on who each of these people were, where you know them from, how they became famous, and how we sort of feel that background can be helpful or hinder their gameplay. And actually, I'll mention something here that I think is kind of relevant to our discussion. We were talking about Candace Dillard Bassett from Real Housewives of Potomac, who, spoiler, is a traitor. And I was talking with Ryan. I mean, in our episodes, we were talking spoiler free, and we were talking like, what would make Candace good at this? And I had this weird like thought where I was like, what about her relationship with her mom, which was very contentious? But I think that there's something to be said for navigating a difficult relationship for your whole life, especially a relationship that you sort of have to keep in a sense because it's family, right? And we've talked before how you don't necessarily have to, but if you are going to keep that person in your life, there's like, you sort of know what steps to take, what steps not to take. And I feel like learning how to navigate a difficult relationship could possibly be really beneficial to her gameplay because she will know when to take a step forward, when to take a step back, when, you know, somebody is sort of going to come at you because she's used to having a difficult personality in front of her and has learned to balance it and navigate it enough that she's able to have her mom in her life. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then Ryan said, my mom is dead.
Well, you know, based on that, then Bronwyn Newport would make an excellent.
I think she'd be great on the Traitors. She's such a liar.
She is, but she goes quite red. You know, there's a bit of a tell for her when she's like feeling the pressure. So maybe that's not ideal, but maybe she just needs to invest in some really heavy makeup that will cover that. And then away she goes.
Or she wears a mask the whole time. She could end up wearing like a Meredith Marks, like that mesh mask that she wore to that party before COVID, right? And it's fashion. It's fashion.
Yes. That's actually genius. Okay. We need to send this to Bronwyn.
There's no tells that way.
Yes, exactly. But you know, there are so many people with these difficult relationships with their parents on these shows who I think you are right. That would make them really interesting as players in this game. Okay, I need to watch. I'm really behind. I need to catch up because I'm getting all the spoilers. I know everything from social media.
Send your husband and kids out for the day. Spend a Sunday.
Just catch it all up. Yeah. I love it. Now, Dana, my friend, where can people follow you, support you? Tell us about your Patreon. Tell us about the pod. Where can they catch you?
Well, they can find me at The Bravo Investigator on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, all the places. They can download the show wherever you get your podcasts. It's called The Bravo Investigator Podcast. It is 5 days a week. Mondays are a reality roundup where you learn about all the news with your favorite reality stars. So basically, if a reality star gets arrested, that's what we talk about on Monday. And then Tuesday is TLC Tuesday, and I'm covering 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days, which is such a good season. Wednesdays is for my Patreon. I'm covering Vanderpump Rules from the beginning, season 1. I'm on episode 7. So we're hitting right about the stride where Jax is about to break up with Laura Lee outside of her AA meeting.
Oh,
classic, so right? That's patreon.com/The Bravo Investigator Podcast. Thursday, I am recapping Southern Charm and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which will then flip to Summer House when that comes out. And then Fridays, I'm doing Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and The Valley, the Persian Style. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, that's amazing. All the shows you can catch.
Spoiled for content. This is brilliant. I love your takes. I love that you bring so much knowledge and insight into your work here on your podcast. You have been a sexual abuse investigator, you know, which is a huge role in itself for a big part of your career. So you really kind of have insight into people and characters and dynamics that I think a lot of people don't have. So I
would say
love
the same
that
about you. So thank you for saying that. But you know, you have just been a light in my life ever since I met you. And I first came upon you on Ryan Bailey's podcast, and you were talking about your mom, right? And even though it was something I couldn't really relate to, there was just something about you. And then we became friends, and we've been friends ever since. So I just really appreciate you in my life as well. And I think that you're the kind of person that, you know, is just so open and loving and giving, and you just bring a really nice light to this space, which can sometimes be kind of dark.
It can be. Thank you for saying that. That's beautiful. I wish we had another reason to be in the same city again soon, but I am
just thinking about it. Let's find one.
Do you know what? How far away is LA for you?
Because it's a 5-hour flight, but it's just so expensive. I mean, just with I don't have a job right now, right? It's not a great time, but yeah, a trip like that is so easily like $5,000, and that's just so much, right? If we could go to an all-inclusive resort together somewhere, that would be cool. Like, because at least it's like a set amount of money, and we meet across the world somewhere. But we'll figure it out. We'll find a way. Or we get a certain streaming service to pay for us to go to a certain event together, maybe at some point in time, right? That would be cool.
Love this. Put that out there in the universe. Things are going to happen.
Manifesting
for us,
Amanda Frances style.
Amanda Frances, we need to read her book.
No, we don't.
Maybe not.
We cannot. Oh. I just want to say one thing about that. What? I don't have any money. So what is like, what does she call it even? The mentality of money or something like that? Either you have it or you don't. So what is this business?
Well, I guess that's why you have no money, Dana, because you are not manifesting in the right way. You have to visualize yourself in abundance and talk about, I am rich, I have money. And look, check your account now. I guarantee you it'll be filling up.
I love that.
Oh my God, I love you, Dana. Thank you so much for doing this pod with me today. I can't wait to do another one with you soon. And everyone, make sure you're following Dana. 5-star reviews, ratings, all of the things. And we will be back soon with another episode, I'm sure.
Thank you.